We're here in Zephyr Hills, Florida. It's a beautiful day. In fact, it's kind of hot. It's like over 90, and so we're all a little bit sweaty. We're here at a transitional home. It's called the Helping Rock Transitional Home. And it's actually a campground where people stay, and there's all kinds of things going on here. And we're here today to interview a beautiful young lady, and she is going to tell us a little bit of her background and where she came from and how she got here. You are?
Sandra?
Her name is Sandra, and she is from?
Which time? I started in Michigan, lived in North Carolina, and now I'm here.
Okay. So she's been all around the world, so you might even know Sandra.
Not all around the world, just on the East Coast.
So anybody on the East Coast, you know Sandra, right? Okay, so Sandra, how did you wind up here this time?
This time, I had been put into some other temporary housing for a while, and because I came out here right after I started wandering looking for a place to stay, and they've decided because of my age, which is
How old are you?
I'll be 70 in June.
Wow, you're looking good, huh?
So anyway, what they brought me back here for was so I could work with one of the gals in the office about setting me up something associated with my age group and stuff like that. So we're looking for me a place to stay.
Okay, so something like what? Medicaid, Medicare?
Well, okay. I was always led to believe that once you hit 65, you only did Medicare. Mm-hmm. Well, come to find out, if you're a low enough income Medicare person, you also have to keep on to the and I was never on Medicaid, so I didn't know that.
Okay, so they actually do that here?
Well, they have people that come in and work 1 to, I don't know how many days the most of them work, but the one I am dealing with works here 1 day a week.
So are those what Wanda calls the case managers?
Yes.
Okay, and so these case managers' job are to do what?
To help you get what you need to get, especially some of us older people, because they didn't educate us for this, okay? At least they didn't me. And so they help you to get the connections you need and set up for housing and stuff like that, because this place, as wonderful as it is for younger people, it's a little hard on you after you reach a certain age.
Right, I can imagine, but isn't it a nice place to actually have some place to go other than the woods?
Yeah, it's a nice place to go and not have to pay a fortune, because I guess they keep telling me how high the housing. When I was still renting my own place, I think it was $525 a month.
Oh my God, it's like almost tripled that now. In Polk County, they have like 3-bedroom homes that are $1,500 a month. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Nobody can afford nothing.
So
you got to have 6 people move in.
I have lined up a second roomie, so we're going to be able to afford something a little better.
Great.
But the whole thing is that it's taking us a while to get that established, and they are helping me with that.
Okay, so how did you wind up homeless?
Oh, how did I end up homeless the first time? Well, I had the people that owned the house that I was in Vetmar wanted to. The woman, they wanted to redo the house and stuff like that, and the lease was up, and they just didn't renew it. Right. And so I ended up kind of roundabout. First I was in a motel for a few days, and then I ended up out here.
Right.
And of course it was a lot different then, because it was still, Wanda and Eddie hadn't quite been able to put their stamp on things yet, and
right.
it was kind of rough in a few places.
Okay, so how did you find out about this place?
I'm not really sure. Somebody told me.
So the word of mouth on the street.
Through the grapevine. I think maybe it might have been somebody even at the motel I was staying at.
Okay. Well, I talked to a young lady here the other day, and she was staying at a motel. She said because she had pets, and she had sold her house, and she couldn't find a place that would take her pets, and so she went up at a motel. It was $59 a night, and it wasn't long before that just ate up all of her money, and that's how she wound up homeless. She had a house that she had owned for years, and they said the statistics in the United States are 87% of people are 3 paychecks short of living on the street. So in other words, if you get fired or you don't have 3 paychecks come in for some reason, the next step is the street. So you know what? This could happen to anybody. Is that correct?
Pretty much, yep.
So did you ever think you would find yourself in a position of not having a home?
Well, for a lot of years, I pretty much was. God basically told me He'd see to it that I was taken care of, but I needed to let go of a lot of things and just say, okay, where do you want me this time around? And I was kind of shiftless in that regard, because it was, and that's not something everybody's called to minister that way.
Right.
But for a lot of reasons. And when I first came out here, there was a couple people here that I really felt strongly that the Lord wanted me to reach out to.
Nice.
And so, and then
I'm very, very impressed, by the way, because most people, when they wind up homeless, all they're doing is thinking about me, self. So my hat's off to you, honey. This is a great thing. So tell me a little bit, don't tell me about the person's name, but tell me a little bit about the process that you did to help somebody else.
Well, I've done that off and on my entire life, but the one, sometimes they work out, sometimes they didn't. Out of the two that I actually worked with out of here, I'd say one was not so good. The other was, I think we're still a work in progress. I'm still in communication with that person, and I think that's still a work in progress. Other times, there's, it's just a lot. That's what I've learned over the years, is that you do what I tell you to do with this person, and maybe they'll respond and maybe they won't, but that's God giving them a chance to turn things around.
Unfortunately, we have free will. Sometimes I wish that God would just say poof, and you can just do what I said because you're a robot, but that's not the way it is.
Then we'd all be agents, and look how Lucifer turned out.
Well, that's true. That wasn't good either. So that's exactly correct. So going forward in the future, where do you see yourself in about 2 years?
Well, I'm going to try and get back in with the church group that I was involved in before this all started falling apart. And it didn't really fall apart. It just was redirected.
Right.
But I now, if you believe in the gifts and the ministries being, there's everybody does these things, but some people are called to specific ones to do specific things.
So do you think Wanda and Eddie are called?
Oh yeah, I see a lot. Especially coming back this time has been a real blessing to me, because I began to see, wow, have they gotten a grip on things that and it's a struggle, because they've been fighting against the politics, and they've been fighting against the people they inherited when they inherited this campground.
Right.
And I mean, there's been a lot of stuff that they've had to struggle with, and I see them more and more in tune with. And I know it was hard for them to move in down here, but I think that was probably the best thing they could have done, because once they got living on the grounds, it was a lot harder for people to get away with things that were getting away with things.
Okay, so if you wanted to say one thing to the public out there, because we're going to put this on YouTube, what would it be to the public about the place?
The place has its purpose and its value, and it's kind of being redefined, but they're not turning away the elderly people. That really this place is wonderful. It is really hard, because it's isolated, but it needs to be for the people they've been called to serve, which is the ones that are coming off the streets and need to get separated from the lifestyle that they were living, as I understand it.
So what would you like to say to Eddie and Wanda?
Eddie and Wanda, keep it up. Don't let it go. Because I know that this has been a real struggle, and I think it's just, I see it as actually, if you weren't doing something right, you wouldn't be getting picked on.
I think that's an absolute. If too many people like you, you're probably not doing the will of God. So we just wanted to thank Sandra today. Thank you so much for being so kind and sharing with everybody. And this is Mary Ann from King Shield Productions. God bless you, and bye-bye.